When Jungkook moves, the industry stops watching others and turns its gaze entirely to him. What he does next isn't just another celebrity decision. It becomes a conversation that spreads across every platform, from Seoul to Los Angeles. This time, his latest move has left even ARMY at a rare loss for words. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it was sharp enough to shake the narrative around him. And in a twist that has everyone wondering, HYBE's recent statement seems to align perfectly with what he just did, not to control it, but to reinforce it. Jungkook has always operated in silence before his next big moment. The quiet before he acts is often what signals the magnitude of what's coming. His latest decision, subtle, strategic, and deliberate, reflects the same confidence that has defined every turning point of his career. There were no leaks, no flashy teasers, no cryptic posts to stir speculation. Yet when it happened, the impact was instant. What ARMY noticed first wasn't the surface action itself, but the weight behind it. It felt like Jungkook had drawn a clear line between his identity as an artist and the machinery surrounding him. There was precision in how he carried himself, an unspoken declaration that he no longer needs constant explanation or validation to make his intentions understood. And that's where HYBE's reinforcement entered the frame. Their official tone, calm but decisive, confirmed that Jungkook's direction wasn't just personal experimentation. It was something the company fully recognized as part of his evolving path. Instead of redirecting public conversation or attempting to soften interpretations, HYBE appeared to stand behind it, amplifying its message. For a company often known for maintaining tight narrative control, that alignment was telling. Timing has always been one of Jungkook's sharpest instincts. He never rushes announcements. He doesn't move with the industry's schedule, he makes his own. His recent step came at a point when most fans believed he would remain low profile, focusing on recovery, preparation, or private projects. But Jungkook has built his career on contradicting assumptions. He knows that surprise isn't just about shock value, it's about direction. This moment felt different because of its precision. Every element, the location, the visuals, the absence of formal build-up, gave the impression of something deeply intentional. Even the silence before HYBE's statement suggested coordination. They waited just long enough for the public to grasp what Jungkook had expressed on his own. When they finally responded, it wasn't damage control. It was validation. That single alignment between artist and company marked a rare clarity. For years, fans have debated whether Jungkook's choices reflect independent instinct or corporate strategy. This time, the answer was clear. It can be both. HYBE didn't direct this move, they recognized it. They didn't explain it, they emphasized it. There's something distinct about how Jungkook communicates without words. He can change global conversation through a gesture, an appearance, or even a moment of pause. What stands out isn't the noise he makes, but the quiet he leaves behind afterward, the kind that forces everyone to think. His latest decision carried that same energy. There was no dramatic announcement. Yet the reaction from ARMY and the industry suggested everyone knew its significance. Within hours, social media trended globally. Analysts began drawing lines between this and his past strategic decisions, and HYBE's silence felt almost deliberate. When their eventual comment arrived, it confirmed what everyone suspected. Jungkook's quiet act wasn't isolation. It was focus. HYBE's statement carried a tone that echoed respect more than authority. It was less about clarification and more about recognition. For a company managing multiple global icons, the choice to let one artist's actions speak before their official words revealed how much autonomy Jungkook commands. His brand doesn't need constant narration. His presence defines its own story. For years, Jungkook was framed as the prodigy, the youngest member whose growth would always be observed under the microscope. But this move proved that the narrative has shifted completely. He's not the one being developed anymore. He's the one setting standards. What made this particular moment powerful wasn't just what he did, it was how clearly it drew boundaries. Jungkook no longer functions within the limits of typical idol management. He's transitioned into a space where his artistic autonomy is not a privilege but a norm. Every action he takes carries its own structure, its own rhythm, and its own message, one that doesn't rely on company statements to define it. HYBE's response reflected this shift perfectly. They didn't attempt to reinterpret his intent or reshape the story. They simply reinforced it, a signal that the company now positions Jungkook less as a managed figure and more as a partner whose creative direction deserves trust. In corporate terms, that's rare. In Jungkook's case, it feels inevitable. Look closely, and it becomes clear that Jungkook's latest step wasn't about promotion or public spectacle. It was a declaration of control. The way he positioned himself visually, the tone of his presence, and the absence of typical marketing patterns all hinted at something bigger, a message to both fans and the industry. He decides his own momentum. HYBE's decision to reinforce that without dilution was a strategic acknowledgement of where their most valuable artist now stands. They didn't present it as a collaborative campaign, they let it breathe as an artist's move. That separation between corporate tone and artistic message carried meaning. It showed that Jungkook has earned what few idols ever achieve: institutional respect. What fans felt in that moment wasn't confusion or speculation. It was realization. They weren't witnessing a management-driven narrative. They were seeing an artist shaping his legacy in real time. Every detail, his look, his tone, his absence of verbal cues, felt like a statement that didn't need translation. When HYBE finally addressed the move, their language was notably deliberate. They didn't add context or redirect the focus. They repeated Jungkook's message in their own tone, calm, neutral, but firm. That's where the reinforcement became visible. This wasn't about the company echoing a fan base reaction. It was about underlining the clarity of Jungkook's path. HYBE's role wasn't to manage perception this time, it was to support it. That single choice redefined how audiences read their relationship. Instead of the typical dynamic of company control, it displayed a professional trust that has matured over time. It also shifted how industry insiders discuss him. Jungkook isn't seen as a performer whose image needs protection. He's recognized as a global brand whose direction carries authority. When HYBE reinforces rather than corrects, it signals to investors, partners, and fans that the artist's instinct is the compass. That subtle but powerful shift is what made this moment historic. Behind every major Jungkook move, there's strategy woven through simplicity. The latest step was no different. While it appeared spontaneous, it had all the hallmarks of careful timing, precise alignment with global attention cycles, social media anticipation, and public silence. HYBE's reinforcement added another layer: strategic synchronization. They allowed Jungkook's move to dominate the conversation first, then validated it with corporate weight. This sequencing amplified the message without overshadowing it. Fans could feel the difference. Instead of seeing a top-down rollout, they saw an artist-first narrative. The underlying strategy suggests that HYBE understands something crucial: Jungkook's individuality is their strongest asset. Every time they step back to let him lead, the public perception of authenticity deepens. And authenticity, especially in today's global market, translates directly into long-term influence. ARMY is known for reacting fast, loud, and global. But when Jungkook's latest move landed, something rare happened. Silence. It wasn't confusion, it was awe. Fans weren't scrambling to interpret, they were processing. It's the kind of silence that comes when something feels too precise to need explanation. That reaction showed how far Jungkook's communication style has evolved. He doesn't rely on words or captions to express meaning anymore. The artistry lies in understatement. When fans realized HYBE wasn't trying to redirect attention, the trust deepened even more. That unspoken synergy between Jungkook, HYBE, and ARMY forms a triangular balance few artists in the world possess. Each understands their role. Jungkook sets the tone. HYBE protects its integrity. ARMY amplifies it. Together, that structure is what allows moments like this to feel both intimate and monumental. Every time Jungkook takes a bold step, the question immediately follows, what's next? But in this case, the question itself might be the answer. The alignment between Jungkook's action and HYBE's reinforcement indicates that the next phase is already in motion. One that's more independent, globally aligned, and strategically minimalistic. Jungkook no longer needs elaborate campaigns to announce his evolution. Each subtle decision, an appearance, a tone, a gesture, now holds enough impact to guide public perception on its own. That level of power means the next era will likely see him merging artistry and business influence at a scale beyond idol culture. HYBE's stance makes it clear that they're not standing in the way, they're standing behind him. That distinction matters. When a company of that size chooses reinforcement over redirection, it's a public admission that the artist's instinct has become the blueprint. Jungkook's latest move didn't come with a speech, a teaser, or a tagline. It came with confidence and HYBE's silent agreement. Together, they turned what could have been a momentary headline into a defining signal of where his career is heading. The reason it left ARMY speechless wasn't because it was confusing, but because it was complete. Every gesture, every pause, every reinforcement built a narrative that didn't need further elaboration. Jungkook has reached a stage where even silence becomes a statement, one that the industry now reads with absolute attention. And if HYBE's reinforcement is any indication, this isn't just another chapter, it's the foundation of a new era where Jungkook stands not as an artist being guided, but as a global figure whose direction sets the course for everyone else. When two forces as large as Jungkook and HYBE move in tandem, the absence of noise becomes louder than any statement. It's not a lack of communication, it's precision. Fans felt it instantly. The usual rush of theories quieted down, replaced by understanding. They could sense that whatever Jungkook was building, HYBE wasn't resisting, they were protecting. That dynamic created a collective calm, rare in fan culture. The balance between independence and support defines his current era. Jungkook isn't rebelling against the structure, he's reshaping it. HYBE isn't losing control. They're adapting to a new kind of leadership, one that comes from the artist himself. Every part of that alignment points to a future where Jungkook doesn't just headline campaigns, he dictates how campaigns are built, how timing works, and how silence can hold more impact than sound. HYBE's reinforcement wasn't just about this one incident. It's a long-term positioning. They're preparing the industry to accept Jungkook as an autonomous force, not only a performer, but a decision-maker whose instincts define global trends. That's why they didn't over-explain. They didn't need to. Every executive in the business already understands what Jungkook's name represents: precision, loyalty, influence. By standing behind his move, without dilution, HYBE is communicating to investors, partners, and brands that they trust his vision completely. And that's a rare signal in entertainment. Companies rarely give this kind of freedom without absolute confidence in results. But Jungkook has never missed. Every era he's led solo releases, brand collaborations, performances has reset expectations. This time, the reinforcement wasn't damage control. It was a corporate endorsement of his independence. Jungkook's rhythm is unpredictable, but deliberate. He doesn't move according to seasons, chart cycles, or media pressure. He moves when it means something. That's why this moment feels like the beginning of another turning point. HYBE's reinforcement suggests preparation not for a random release, but for a new phase where Jungkook operates on his own framework. It could be a collaboration, a campaign, or something the public hasn't yet imagined. The point isn't the format, it's the control. Whatever's next will likely follow the same pattern: silence, precision, revelation. And when it comes, the impact will again reshape how artists communicate power. HYBE won't announce it for him, they'll wait for him to move, then reinforce once more. That's the new language of trust.